All right, when we look at this between meiosis and mitosis, right? So let's go through again. What cells undergo meiosis? Very simple, right? Sperm cells, stem cells that will turn into sperm cells, and then stem cells that will turn into oocytes or eggs. That's it, right? Those are only two cells that undergo meiosis. Differences, when you're looking over the differences, think about what, when, and why. So when does it happen? Well, mitosis happens right after we have fertilized egg. So we're talking about early as possible situation in our body. When we're basically one cell organism. To produce two, you need to undergo mitosis. So that's really early on. Meiosis doesn't happen until, for males, you hit puberty. Then it gets stimulated. The weird thing is meiosis for females is different. Meiosis in females actually starts before the baby actually is born. So it starts real early in females, at labor and delivery and even before. For males, we don't even start meiosis until we hit puberty. All right, when does crossing over occur? Late prophase, metaphase region, when the actual hormones line up real close enough for you to switch DNA. And it allows us to have genetic variants right here. And we'll talk about some of the difference between males and females coming up, right? We already talked about one, the timing, right? In males, only at the start of puberty. For females, before even birth occurs, right? We even talked about the other one, right? For males, you produce as many sperm cells as possible to increase the odds of reproduction. For females, we don't want to release 4 oocytes. That means 4 babies. You guys have seen what happens when you even have twins, right? Or, God forbid, if you watch like Jenna and Kate plus 8 or some of those crazy shows, well, when you have multiples, usually it's not a good thing. Usually the babies are going to be premature. Usually the babies are going to be very, very small, right? So we don't like multiples. In general, it's to the point where having, we've seen that there's an increased probability now of having twins, but that's what we call fraternal twins. Remember, a fraternal twin is different than an identical twin. Fraternal twins can be different sexes. Why? Fraternal twins are separate eggs, get released at the same time, and separate sperm cells, fertilizing those separate eggs at the same time, right? So you can have an X sperm, you can have a Y sperm, right? The only thing that makes those siblings twins is that they're born on the same day, right? Even a fraternal twin, one twin might actually be even a little bit younger than the other. What do I mean? In some people, right, you have a fertilized egg that's already ready to go, it's implanted in the uterus, and now for some reason or another, you have a release of another egg when you shouldn't. And now the other egg gets released, and if you have sex, there's a chance that that new egg can get fertilized. So now you have a new fertilized egg that might be a month or 2 younger than the other one that had already implanted in the uterus. Once you have labor and delivery, you can't choose which one comes out, all right? They're both gonna come out. So you might have a baby that actually is younger than the other baby. But because they're born on the same day, we call them twins. Now, identical twins are really cool, right? Now, the numbers for identical twins haven't substantially increased. So it's pretty rare to see identical twins. It's incredibly rare to see identical triplets. With identical twins, you have 1 egg, 1 sperm, fusion, fertilization, and out of what should be 1 organism, somehow the split occurs, so then you have 2 individuals coming from the same set of chromosomes. So can you have identical twins that are going to be different sexes? Absolutely not, right? They might look the same, almost similar like a sibling does, but they're not identical, right? Identical twins has to be of the same sex because they share the same X chromosomes, right? That they get the same Y chromosomes, right? So they can't all of a sudden make up another chromosome. So it has to be identical, same sex. They have to look similar, if not identical as well. They come from the same egg and sperm. How can they possibly look the same, different, right? So they should look identical. Now, behavior, right, experience gives identical twin a little bit of a difference, right, as they age. Again, when you're looking at this, right, first round of cell division occurs, but before that, what happens? You double the DNA during the S phase, because you still have the same life cycle in meiosis as we do in mitosis. Again, one round of DNA replication in S phase, followed by 2 consecutive rounds of cell division. Right? Eventually, you produce 4 23 chromosome sperms. Now, because of crossing over, those 4 23 chromosome sperm cells should not be identical at all, right? They should be different than each other. That gives us a lot of genetic variance. And once it gets released into the lumen of the seminiferous tubule, it will then release into the epididymis, where we will see maturity occurring. So they're just showing you, like, here's the lumen of the seminiferous tubule. The cells out here are the stem cells that then undergo meiosis, and then as they finish meiosis, they then start to become sperm cells. Those sperm cells then get released into the lumen of the seminiferous tubule, and then it's going to go to the epididymis, where it matures even more. So the latex cells are found here between the seminiferous tubules. The latex cells produces the testosterone, and then we're going to see that, right, your Sertoli cells are found inside the seminiferous tubule. It provides the structure. So right here, these are the Sertoli sustenticular cells. It provides structure for the meiosis to occur. If we didn't have these, you're just going to release that stem cell, and meiosis occurs anywhere, right? You just release it to the lumen. There's no structure for that 2 rounds of cell divisions to occur, right? So there'll be a lot of chaos then, because you're releasing mature sperm cells and immature sperm cells that have not finished cell division, and they get released right into the lumen. So that's too chaotic. We need some kind of structure there, maintaining integrity, so then as the cells undergo cell division, it gets guided, it gets protected, right? And it is allowed to follow through and finish cell division. Right, so just review these and the function. Now, there should be a 50-50 chance of having a boy and a girl, right? What we're going to see is, in terms of X chromosomes and Y chromosomes, because of how they're split, half of our sperm cells should be X, half of them should be Y. The problem is, right, in certain cultures, like in mine, where there's a lot of emphasis in Asian cultures, not just Chinese, right, but Indonesian and actual Japanese culture. And if you think about it, even the Indian culture, right, we're going to see that males are more valued. And it's kind of crazy, right? And what we're starting to see is that because they're more valued, rich Asian parents basically go to, fertility doctors, and since they want boys, they will try to separate only the X and the Y sperms, right? Separate them. So then when they have in vitro fertilization, they can only have the Y sperm be released. Then if you only have Y sperm, the X comes from the egg, the Y comes from that sperm. Now you have an XY male, right? The problem, you're gonna have a lot more males than you're gonna have females. And we believe that's already starting to happen. There's like a 51%, 49% kind of arrangement now. That doesn't sound like a big difference until you multiply it by 1 billion people, right? So that's a lot of people that you're multiplying by, and that small change in the population of males versus females is going to be, right, very substantial in the future. By the way, that's one of the reasons why in China they've kind of relaxed the one-child policy, because we do see a lot of, even if you do have a little girl, and this sounds terrible, but how many little Chinese girls do we see that have been adopted in America that have white parents, right? A lot. In my daughter's own grade, we see that when she first went to school there, I was the only Asian dad out of all of these Asian girls, right? All the other Asian girls were, adopted by white parents. That's great, right? We want that. The problem is you don't see a lot of the boys getting adopted, right? So that's kind of a sexist thing that we do see. And you keep shipping these girls off, that population of girls are going to decrease, and now you're going to have boys that don't have girls to kind of, hang on to and kind of throttle them down a little bit, right? They actually think that crime rates are going to spike a little bit, right, in the future because of it. So that will be, and remember, right, 4951 doesn't sound like a big deal until you multiply it by 1.4 billion people. All right, let's take a break.